Hello. Okay, I started streaming, but I don't think there's much to say today. I guess this is the next thing. This should be generated, and what is being generated here is the struct, which means I need a vector with information about each member in whatever is generating the declaration. I wrote this off stream. It generates the declaration, the layout. But in front of this, I still need to get have the struct. So let's say struct top position. I have them the other way around. Did a comma here? No, it's not a comma, idiot. Pretty random. Mod 2 unused 1 and X. Okay. Is struct space prefix. Now I am having 1, 2, 3 prefixes. What the fuck? I'm going to shoot a resource prefix. Yeah, even one more. So 4 times in total. So here we print one member. Damn it. Let me turn on the light. I cannot see my keyboard. Okay. Not exactly getting what it is here. This is a very beautiful song that I'm listening to. Very beautiful. I don't think it's what it is called. Nope. It's this song with the text, "In everything you do, your love shines through." Okay, I'll try to not to be horribly boring. There is a problem here. Mr. Saini Sir. Sir Saini? Why do you not put Sir first? Normally I immediately turn off music with vocals in it because I cannot concentrate on my programming. But this song that I'm listening to now is so beautiful. I just have to listen to it. It is part of a mix. I think they are done now with this music. Okay, I said that a minute ago about not being boring, so I think there's a huge lag again between the video and the chat. Let me switch to different music, just in case. Okay. So the problem is for the uniform buffer, the declaration looks a bit like this, where the struct has multiple members. And it's confusing me. How often do I get here? That is not what I meant. Line 1223, 1293, there's only two of them. One's for vertex and another one for vertex. This one is not printing anything, it just says entering and then nothing. At least the pointer that is being passed is different. It's still confusing me. I'm going to run it in the debugger, I think, and put no, did not want that. Let me search for this pointer if that occurs more often. It says share the resource declaration context. Update binding is the same pointer. And I have that another time here and another time here. That's 3 bindings. Oh, it even says what it is. Top position X. And then again for left position Y. And then again for bottom position X. This is so weird. Yeah, I guess I have I have a single shader resource declaration context for all uniform buffers and all textures and everything else. All the shader resources share a single declaration context. And then depending on the set, it increments the binding. So if the set is 0, the binding is incremented every call. And if the set is 1, then another binding is incremented. The binding that belongs to that set, also that is being printed here. Set 1 and set 0 both have a 0 and then are incremented to 1. But then what is the difference between the prefix and the DLSL ID string? Well, the prefix is clear. That is just that. But the X is one of the members. Just one. That can't be right. That is. It's wrong. I think the reason is simply that in my shader code, I have three strings with double colons in it. Top position once with an X, left position once with a Y, and bottom position once with an X. And for each of these, it calls that function. Now this test application uses a very simple uniform buffer, namely with just a single float in it. And the X and the Y and the X here are the floats. But if you have a slightly more complicated uniform buffer, which really contains a struct, and the struct has more than one member, which actually it does. For example, here the bottom position does not only have the X, it also has an unused. The unused is just not being used, so you don't see that back here. But suppose I would do something with it. Something equals top position, bottom position, whatever. Bottom position unused. I'm using the unused as well now. Then something confusing happens, if you ask me. Okay, Mr. Drufbafsar. No idea how to pronounce that. It's good to hear that you are motivated by this. So I'm going to run this again. Write the output to file and then look at that file. So here I have the extra line. This is I think just the input, so template code. And then after pre-processing that, there's another one which is the same. Are you ever going to compile something, or did it already crash? I think I'm going around. No, here it is. This is generated. So it says compiling here. And that means that I pre-processed the code and replaced everything. I generated the declarations. So you can see here, it generated... Oh, I had expected it to generate bottom position twice. And it didn't. What? Because this is not... Apparently I have multiple sources. I have multiple sources. This is not the one where I added the extra line. Finally I found it. So this is generating bottom position struct followed by the bottom position layout. And then again, the bottom position struct and the bottom position layout. That's clearly wrong. Now, because I'm calling it twice, the second time around it using binding 1. It's both for set 2. So the first time it uses binding 0 of set 2, and then it uses binding 1 for set 2. But for the rest, yeah, apart from the name then, this is just the same. B0 because binding is 0 and B1 because the binding is 1. For the rest it generates the same because it only uses the prefix. The prefix of the whole DLSL ID string, which is bottom position, double colon unused 1 and bottom position unused, bottom position double colon X. But because I only use the prefix, I don't care about the X or the unused. I only care about that while creating the struct. And I have to create a struct anyway with all its members. So if I have a struct with say 3 members and I'm only using the last one, then I still have to generate the full struct. So I think that at the first call, I should generate everything. I only want to do this once, I only want to do this once. And I can do that the first call, because it doesn't really matter which member I am using. Yeah. Normally I would say what I use is a context. I would use a declaration context. I should use a declaration context per, well, declaration, which is the prefix. So why do I not have a declaration context per prefix? There must be a comment about that in my code. Now I have to find back where the declaration context is being returned. That is... I'm gonna guess this one. I don't know. No, that doesn't look like it. Maybe shader builder. Not. I'm stubbornly going in, look in pipeline. This is ridiculous. Why can I not remember even the directory where that happens? So it's something like it is used in, something used in X. Is used in. So these return declaration context, and then I have vertex attribute, push constant, and shader resource. And I don't want a header, I want a... Oh, that's the one. And that is in shader builder. So why didn't I see it? Looked everywhere, also in shader builder. So at one point this is being called, and then we return the declaration context. Right, and here's the comment that I was referring to. We must use a single declaration context for all shader resources, as this context is used to enumerate the set and binding values. And that's a lie. Because well, currently it is a lie. Or maybe it's a permanent lie. I don't, the set is not generated in the declaration context at the moment. But I have to agree that I am not sure what is the best approach here. I could do it in this object. Externally might be super difficult. But is that the case? Because at the moment I already have the set number. I think I'm going to do it externally, which means I do not I'm not going to use this object to generate a set number. And then I want to have a different context per set, per descriptor set. So this function here, share the resource context, is currently returning a declaration context, of which there is only one. The share the resource declaration context. And now if you, for example, look at push constant declaration context, like we have here, that's a map. A map to a unique pointer. No clue what that is, guys. And the vertex attributes have a declaration context. Oh, also a single one. Now that's because it really has to enumerate the location numbers. That seems correct. So we are more like push constants, I guess, here. And instead of using a map, I think I'm going to use the set index. If I know the set index, then why not use that? Which means that instead of having a single set resource declaration context, I'm going to use a vector with these things, which uses set index as an index. Which I already have here, a vector with set layouts. Are you now telling me that I can put my declaration context simply inside set layout? What is set layout? Set layout contains a vector of that and a set layout handle. Well, it seems like it. Let's do that then. I'm putting the context in the set layout here. Although then the name is a bit weird. Sorted descriptor set layouts, layout set layouts. So I could also use two vectors. Not going to. Well, this is a private thing. It should be private as much as possible, but that means I need a accessor, so let's copy that too. Where's my accessor? Rather, what was the... No, it's probably my mouse buffer still. Yeah, we don't have this here anymore because I just deleted it. So we just have a default constructor. Ouch. Reserve binding is now... It's not working anymore. This is the accessor. I think I changed enough. I mean, I said it before, the way I work is that I just change a few things, normally until I lose oversight. And then I start compiling, and then the compiler errors will point out what else you need to change. And if that works, then you have robust code. So it's a good way to make sure that you have robust code. What is annoying me in this case is that I lose overview way too soon. I mean, I should still know what I'm doing and what other changes are needed. But it's slipping my mind. I don't know. So I'm already going to... I'm already giving up. Just starting to compile and see what other things we need. That's a lot of errors. That can't be right. I guess I switch at some point to having no filter. This is it filters on. I don't understand. Well, I have to scroll up. Use of undeclared identifier shader builder. So first we get all missing header compile errors. I don't know why I'm getting so much output. That's better. I changed it back without resourcing. Warning, explicitly defaulted default constructor. is implicitly deleted. Default constructor set layout is implicitly deleted because the field shader resource declaration context has no default constructor. That might be problematic. It doesn't, because it needs an owning shader input data, apparently. Question is why? To get a set index. Well, that's a pretty good reason. Shader resource generate uses does a pushback of the well, the descriptor set layout binding. I don't know. Let's just try to keep it that way, which means that I do not have a default constructor indeed, but instead this must be initialized with the shader input data const pointer, was it? What am I doing? Owning shader input data, yeah, in pipeline. Hi, JC. You set up Linux? How? Dual boot or a virtual machine or a new PC? Well, no matching constructor for initialization of shader resource declaration context. Oh. Candidate constructor, the implicit copy constructor not viable. Yeah, of course not. Candidate constructor, implicit move constructor. Candidate constructor not viable. First argument, const pipeline shader input would lose const qualifier. Oh, well, in that case. Okay, well, it's very, very difficult to do. Very difficult. You should probably start with trying to get AI utils test suite to compile. You need to set up the gitash. That's also a repository on my GitHub, which has a README that explains what you need to do with that. It involves setting an environment variable. Environment is very important for my whole build system. So you can set up the environment the old-fashioned way, but well, then you have that environment. You know, you can put it in the .parse RC, but then you have that environment always. What I do is set an environment which is specific for a project, that then gets important automatically when you change the directory to that project. And so maybe you want to look into that too if you are serious about working on Linux as a developer. But yeah, I don't know. For now, it's just a single environment thing that you need. Let me see which one. So you must set the Gita's root to a empty writable directory. It doesn't have to be empty, but it's going to be filled with random stuff. I think you will get all of them. So this just contains packages downloaded from GitHub and then configured and installed in here, and they are picked up from this install place, so from the Gita's root by Cmake. It's not called git cache, it's called gitash. No, gitash is automatically downloaded. You don't have to install it. You just have to set this environment variable. Otherwise it will not be used, and then you will not get all these packages, and then you will get the billion errors during configure, and then you will be all confused. I said maybe you should start with I think it's called IEutils test suite. If you clone that first and you get that to work together with this being set, then you're already halfway. Then you have a good environment to drag in all the other stuff as well. There's somewhere, it doesn't matter. Okay, intermezzo. Repositories. I said that you can look at Gita's because it has the readme that explains how it works. So if you clone a repository from me, then this is already done. You don't have to do that. But you do need this requirements. So your Cmake version must be at least 3.14. Well, it will be. And then it says what I just mentioned. The user must have the environment variable gitash root set to a writable directory, or gitash will not do will do nothing except print a message. I might want to read the rest as well. I don't know. If you don't have LD library path set, then it's not very important. I'm not even. This is also a CTEC thing. This remark means, well, you can read it and try to understand it. That would be the best thing, to actually understand it, of course. But the bottom line is that if you have one of these libraries already installed, somewhere and you have your LD library path set pointing to them, then things will not work. Well, they will try. You should import the packages from Gitash, but it will, the LD library path is preferred. So if you just make it empty, it will work, and or if you did not install any of these things, but you never know, right? So, or you should use this, which means that this must be part of the Cmake file. I'm not even sure if I do that. I don't. It's commented out. So we can also edit this file of this project and uncomment this. If you would have an LD library path, I don't know, man. Just show me the error and I'll tell you what is wrong, I guess. Well, if you pull this off, you have my respect, and I will take you very seriously in the future. It's definitely, yeah. If you can figure out how to do this all by yourself, I would be really impressed. It is possible, but you have to read things and you have to be smart. I like smart people. Smart and self-secure are sometimes the same thing, by the way. Statistical thinking. What is most likely, what is often what it is. You can almost never be sure of something. So sometimes you think, well, I'm not sure, but I would say, you know, if you're a very smart guy and your intuition tells you, nah, that might be the case. If then you're a very non-self-secure person and you're going to tell yourself, yeah, but I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. And then it will never come out. But if you're very self-secure, I think, nah, I think that's it. That just has to be. Let's assume that's correct. And then if you are smart, and then you are correct. You understand what I mean? But you need both. And I've got again what I was doing, obviously. Oh, fixing compile errors, I think. I'm gonna run Make again. I'm using Clang, I think, at the moment. But yeah, I think G++ should also work. But if you want to be sure that if you want to be sure, then you might start with this one. Undeclared identifier shader resource declaration context. We don't use that anymore. It's a successor of OpenGL. An engine is then, let's say, I don't know, a game engine, but different. Not specifically for a game, but hey. Non-matching function for a call to construct add. In instantiation of function template specialization, standard construct blah blah, requested here, requested here, requested here. Requested here, requested here. Gets my file again. In instantiation of member function, standard vector vulkan descriptor set layout resize requested here. That's because a vector resize requires default construction. So if I have a vector, yeah, I cannot resize, I think, I cannot resize if I do not have that. Well, it's interesting to see if I have the point, yeah, of course I have the pointer. It's the pointer to shader input data. Can I do a resize? No, I cannot, but I don't know. This is interesting. Let's, I never finished my sentences. I think too fast. And then I don't finish my sentences. Yep, so what I want here is to grow the vector, but each element, the elements do not have a default constructor. And what I must pass is this pointer here. So the question is, can I resize it in a way that I do not use the default constructor? Let me first reserve it, because I don't like calling pushback on something when I know the size in advance anyway. Risking multiple calls to malloc. So we have a reserve here. Reserve should work. New cap larger than max size is not allowed, so equal to max size is allowed, so the capacity and size are the same thing, or the same unit. So this was a size before, and now it's a reserve, aka a capacity. And then I'm going to run over some integer from 0 to the number of new elements. Definitely feels inefficient, but as a proof of concept, and place back, obviously, and place back this then, right? Let's use an int, because I really hate signed for loop things. It's well, it must be positive, and this must be larger or equal. And we have a +1 here. So I'm having the feeling that the needed required growth is the eventual size minus the current size. Current size being size. What am I doing? No, this music is not what we want to hear. Let me switch to something else. Okay, what did I do? So the new index must fit. If the index is say 1, the size must be 2. So you have index 0 and 1 for 2 elements. End returns the size. So if the index 1 is larger than the current size, for example, or a cell even equal, if the current size is 1 and the index is 1, then we're not large enough. The size must be 2. So for that example, the number of new elements then becomes 1 plus 1 is 2, minus the current size, say the size was 1, is 1, which means we need to grow 1, that's correct. And then I reserve 2, and then we append 1 element. Let's see if this compiles. Hello, Mr. Buffer. Error, no member named share the resource context. Well, we're already in a function that requires some serious change. Restafval buiten zetten. I guess I should do that. That's gonna take me maybe 10 minutes. Shall I stop the stream? Yeah, I'm going to, you know, not. Sometimes I even skip meals because I'm streaming. I'm going to do what has to be done, real life, and then I'll be back in 10 minutes. But it feels a bit silly to keep streaming all the time, so I'm stopping the stream and then I'll be back when I put the garbage out.